sword and scribe.
Welcome, Scribe. I am Atlas, a Zax supercomputer, formerly of the Enclave, now property of the Brotherhood of Steel. Within my memory banks is the entire collection of Brotherhood technical data. This includes schematics and blueprints, holotapes, and data manuals. It appears you have access files pertaining to T-Series power armor. And would like a complete analytical breakdown pertaining to the function and operation of the selected technical entity. Gathering technical data now. Please stand by. We will begin by investigating 3 components of power armor that are rarely discussed across all terminal databanks. These being the technical devices issued to be found by Scribe Halen in her quartermaster op at the Cambridge Police Station. We will start with exoskeleton plating, thermoregulation, and energy damage mitigation. Technical device responsible, flux sensor. Hardware otherwise known as heat flux sensor. Model number CM-88B-180924609. The heat flux sensor is a subtype of thermoelectrical transducer. Thermal energy applied to the sensor plate is thus translated into a series of stored electrical impulses. This can be used for 2 primary functions. The first of which is the registration and indication that there's been a change to baseline readings of internal and/or external temperatures, and secondly, the translation of an external thermal energy source into stored electrical power. The active junction is comprised of a constantin and a copper wiring series, which make up a positive hot and negative cold end, respectively. This is the absorption point of thermal radiation. A standard flux device can register and absorb most types of energy weapon damage. This includes flame, Tesla arc, plasma, combustion, and cryogenic energies. By modifying the flux sensor with an item known as a heatsink, atomic radiation energy can also be registered and absorbed. This energy is then sent through wiring to a series of built-in parameters. These parameters then register a total net R value and send this data to the HUD inlay screen within the eyelet visor of the power armor helmet. The T-Series power armor suit Model 60 Subclass F depends on the flux sensor for numerous functions, primarily for Brotherhood operators' biothermal stability. A hazardous change in internal suit thermic levels could lead to the operator within suffering from fatal hyperthermic or hypothermic states. This drastic change in the suit's internal thermic readings would most likely be from a high-velocity puncturing trauma to the suit's armored plating, either by high-impact melee weapons, like those seen wielded by the detested supermutants, or from a high-density puncturing appendage, like those found on the mutated and enlarged rat scorpion. be it a rupture to the various hose lines or direct damage to the steel exoskeletal plating, it would register within the suit's HUD inlay as an emergent issue, notifying the operator to immediately seek a power armor station or a mechanic and repair the problem. Changes in external thermic readings are also imperative for field operations. Locations such as the glowing sea out in the Massachusetts Commonwealth, or the Boneyard in the former NCR, are examples of areas of operation not conducive for biologically stable, non-mutated life forms. Some perceptive scribes might ask how this flux sensor differs from a Geiger counter. Though they do perform similar functions, a Geiger counter only focuses on thermal readings of nuclear radiation, whereas the flux sensor is reading changes in the external environment from any source that's producing any form of thermal radiation. Though a Geiger counter is present for the changes in radiation levels, large atmospheric thermoelectric discharges can be equally fatal, primarily observed in the Shenandoah Valley of Appalachia and also in the glowing sea. But the most important function of the flux sensor is that of thermoelectric damage mitigation, leading to conversion of stored energy. This variability to take incoming damage produced from energy weapons and convert this damage into translated potential energy, in which it can be then stored within the microfusion core power battery, is a feature of the flux sensor thermopile that allows for near total invulnerability on the battlefield. This allows for increased energy weapon damage mitigation for every power armor-clad knight and paladin in the Brotherhood. And this is the very reason why flux sensor enhanced power armor plating is a marvel of military engineering. This simple device has been a major component in a fight against one of the mightiest foes of the Brotherhood, the Enclave. The soldiers of the Enclave, whom favor plasma energy weapons, would have been victorious if not for this crucial piece of old world tech.
Solid copy, 3-2 Bravo. Negative on Casavac. Do what you can, out.
Even though these precious devices lie underneath the steel plating of the power-armored suit, this does not mean that they are impervious to damage. They can erode over time, short-circuit, or even break under the sheer, constant pelting of energy weapon damage. And this is why it is imperative to find flux sensors when on patrol in the wasteland. For each flux sensor found is a brother or sister saved in the numerous battles to come.
Now we will investigate one of the most singular important pieces of fundamental technology regarding power armor function, second only to the technology behind the fusion core battery, the haptic drive. The haptic drive is a device that allows for a person to remotely operate machine robotics within a three-dimensional space through reactive mechanoreceptive manipulation. This is the core component of a field of science known as telerobotics and teleoperation. It is how any knight, paladin, or any other person of the wasteland is able to successfully operate a suit of power armor. This is carried out by the application of applied force, vibrations, and gross motor movement from the operator's own body onto the haptic drive device, which then copies the operator's movements in perfect biomechanical synchronization. This biomechanical relay connection is then electrically enhanced through linking of the biosensor arrays found on the Under Armour suit of the operator and that of the joint servos found on the power armored frame. There is a total of 4 haptic drive devices that are located within the interior of the power armored frame. 2 in each of the vambrace gauntlet junctions, and 2 can be found within the sabatons of the lower extremity. Though they share a similar function, that being the kinetic movement of the power armored suit, they do differ in their design. We will first start by investigating the haptic drive devices located within the vambrace gauntlet junction. The haptic drive robotic gauntlet contains touch sensors embedded in each of the joints and finger pads of the robotic hand. These are then connected with the operator's own hand, allowing for precise mechanoreceptive feedback. This is how an operator can interact with objects such as weapons, grenades, and terminals without damaging them with the hydraulics and mechanical actuators embedded within the suit's many joint servos. We can observe a similar mechanoreceptive connection within the lower extremity of the suit, with lock-in haptic drive connectors within each of the pedal platforms within the interior of the robotic sabatons. Though these haptic drives are of a different design from the devices seen in the VGJ, they contain the same joint servo technology that requires a mechanoreceptive connection with the operator in order to move in sync together. The haptic drive is used in junction with an under-armored bodied suit issued to all power armor pilots within the Brotherhood. The Under Armour bodysuit is another relic of the pre-war world, the design and machination of West Tech. It is a full-body jumpsuit containing a series of biosensors which are sewn into the fabric of the suit itself. These then touch the skin of the wearer and are connected to an electrical uplink which plugs into the interior of the power armored frame. The purpose and application of the under-armored bodysuit is twofold. It allows for a full-body biomechanical link and relay between the operator and the power armored frame itself. The second of these is that it also allows for the HUD inlay of the helmet to display the health status of the operator within. Though it is possible to operate power armor without one of these under-armored suits, it is this under-armor haptic suit that informs the power armor itself what the anatomical limitations of the operator are, in order to prevent morbidity when operating the suit out in the field. This is due to human anatomical variability as well as athletic limitations, such as recorded between pilot-operator genders, genetic disposition, and individual levels of physical performance. In essence, not all operators are identical, and the suit needs to be synced properly so that it can prevent injuries such as maiming or even death due to internal decapitation of the spinal cord or brainstem. These medical emergency preventative measures are all made possible by haptic feedback devices, as well as the use of under-armored pilot suits. And thus, this is why haptic devices, as well as proper use of under-armored suits, is imperative when operating powered armor. We now arrive at the final technical device in this investigation, the reflex capacitor. Reflex capacitor is what allows for the fusion core battery to provide accurate electrical power to the many electrical components within the suit. The reflex capacitor is a high-voltage energy storage capacitor that completes a pulse-forming network. The pulse-forming network is comprised of the reflex capacitor, vacuum relay, and inducer, all within the metal housing of the device. This pulse-forming network acts as the electrical mediator between the fusion core battery and the rest of the suit's electrical components. Connected to the fusion core battery through a coaxial cable, the pulse frequency network is able to dissipate and store upwards of 10 megajoules of nuclear energy, pulse releasing upwards of 120 kilovolts and 6 million amperes per microsecond. This is a design similar to the Shiva Star pulsed frequency network, built by the United States Air Force in pre-war America. The stored energy leaves the reflex capacitor via a network of copper wiring and various hose lines. These hose lines contain oil and deionized water, which act as a dielectric in order to handle the high energy stress pulsed outward from the nuclear core. These electrical lines, as well as the dielectric hose lines, can be found running the length of the power armored frame and connect to the various powered devices. These devices include the flux sensor, the joint servos, hydraulic actuators, as well as the haptic drives. They can also be found connecting to the HUD inlay, the rebreather, and communication devices found within the power armored helmet. Nuclear energy is stored and dissipated as needed, thus the reflex nomenclature in the naming convention of the device. Due to the pulsed frequency of the reflex capacitor, the lifespan of the device is relatively short, and would need to be replaced after short-circuiting or when damaged. And this is the very reason why the Brotherhood seeks these devices during quartermaster search and seizure operations.
Talk with Proctor Quinlan aboard the Pridwin about joining a research patrol. Or report to Scribe Halen at the Cambridge Police Station for quartermaster technical search and seizure operations. And go out there and find each and every flux sensor you can get your hands on in the wasteland. This technical data report has been brought to you by Scribe Atlas. Remember that it is our duty as scribes to collect, preserve, and protect the technical treasures of the old world in order for future generations to rebuild a better tomorrow. We are the quill and the tome. We are the gears behind the sword. Ad Victoriam.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you know of a brother or sister in need, reach out for support. We are all in this wasteland struggle together. And remember, ad victoriam.